So here's a few news stories. Google has had Google I/O today, apparently, where they show off their new things. And they made glasses. These are only prototypes. They're not for sale yet. AR, augmented reality glasses. So it will transcribe text like a subtitle for the world. And it'll translate languages. So if somebody speaks in a language you don't know, you'll just see subtitles. So it sounds pretty good. Might be worth getting. I remember when I went to China about 3 years ago, they had a little thing you could carry like a cell phone that would do it for spoken text. You could talk into it in English and Chinese would come out, and people could talk in Chinese and English would come out. And it was pretty good. So this is interesting. The Guardian has done a research and found what the major oil and gas companies are doing, and they have large projects underway to dig up a whole lot more oil and gas, enough to exhaust all the extra pollution that the world can absorb. They're all marching ahead, making tons of this stuff, assuming that all the nations are going to totally ignore their promises of climate change and buy all that oil and gas, which is probably a pretty good bet. And someone asks if it's a second-generation product. I don't know what that means. But anyway, but it does seem like technology has been around for maybe 5 or 10 years, so I guess it's probably improved in some way. So Elon Musk says putting Twitter's headquarters in San Francisco makes it have a strong left bias, which does seem only logical. The problem is, I think in the last 6 years, every company in America has wondered, every news press, everything, is there such a thing as being in the middle, so you could get people from both the right and the left. And you can just look at the few Republicans that tried to run without accepting Trump's big lie. There seems to be no appetite for people in the middle. So it's you pretty much seems like you have to be on the far left or the far right, so you can get half the people, and the other half of the people will hate you. Anyway, we're going to see. Maybe Trump will do it. Yeah, they did have Google Glasses before. You're right. So this would be a second version of the Google Glasses, I guess. The previous version was considered terrible, and nobody liked it. Did not sell. So the people protesting Roe versus Wade are protesting outside the homes of Supreme Court justices, which does seem like a very unwise form of protest, but it doesn't seem illegal. You do have the right to petition the government for redress of grievances, and they're not being violent. However, many Republicans are saying this is illegal, and we're going to see if they can come up with a law they're breaking. I highly doubt it, as long as they're not doing violence. But it is threatening and intimidating and scares people and probably harms their cause more than it helps it, but I don't think it's illegal. So there is something, I've heard about this for a while ago, there is some factor in cells called the Yamanaka factor or something, these which are chemicals of some sort, factors in the DNA, which can cause old cells to become young. And the original version, they would go all the way back to an age of 0, so the cells would turn into undifferentiated embryonic stem cells from which you can grow different organs. And that, of course, is an interesting feat, but not directly useful. And now they found a way to take things back only 30 years. So they retain their character and become younger. And it sounds like a rejuvenation treatment straight out of science fiction. It does have the side effect of causing cancer. So it's not really something you'd want to use yet, but it certainly does suggest that they might be able to really make significant treatments for various diseases and age-related diseases out of this after they keep working on it and figure out more how it works. It is quite a breakthrough, sort of suggesting that science fiction immortality drugs are not impossible. The crypto market has fallen by about half. Some parts have fallen more than that. Stock market has fallen quite a bit too, and crypto, as usual, is much more volatile. However, there are some thresholds that it's getting close to. If Bitcoin falls below 22.5K, some major exchanges will be forced to sell their Bitcoin. That's there's a financial term for it, I forget, but there's a certain level at which you have to sell. And so people are worried. And here's a fun fact I just learned. If you have a Coinbase account, that means Coinbase has your private key and your money is on Coinbase's servers just like it would be at your bank. But if Coinbase goes bankrupt, then you don't have that money anymore. There's a clause in the contract that says, a 10Q form that they filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission says, custodially held assets may be considered to be the property of the bankruptcy estate, and they will then be distributed according to the bankruptcy settlement. So if you have money on deposit with Coinbase and they go bankrupt, you will be considered just one of the many people that they can't pay, and you will just get some small percentage of your money back years later. So it would seem like this is the kind of information that would cause everybody to move their money out of Coinbase immediately before it goes bankrupt, probably causing it to go bankrupt. And this is the situation I've been talking about for years, and all the crypto complainers have been talking about how when there's a run on the money, the banks can't handle it, the blockchain can't handle it, and everybody will try to take their money out at once and cause a crash. So we'll see. However, I don't really feel that bad. Let me just bring up Bitcoin price chart. Some people are freaking out and saying it's the end of the world and such. But if you look at the 5 years of Bitcoin, I really don't think there's anything to panic about. Bitcoin does have a lot of crashes. And what it's done is it rose quite a bit, and then it fell about half. And it's still down here about half of what it was. And this is not unusual for Bitcoin. It does this every year or so. In fact, several times a year. It falls by more than half typically. And so most people that are experienced at crypto, they're just thinking now is a great time to buy more Bitcoin because it'll probably just go up again. So I don't know. Other people think the whole thing's going to collapse down to zero like a house of cards. I think that is not what's going to happen, but I'm certainly no kind of expert. I don't know if anybody is. But anyway, crypto is very risky. It goes up and down a lot. So it's not for the faint of heart investing in crypto. And I've only seen this in movies. There's a 2-person small engine plane up there, and the pilot got sick and couldn't drive the plane anymore. So a passenger called air traffic control and said he'd never flown a plane, knew nothing about it, and they talked him down, and he successfully landed it without anybody getting hurt, which they said is quite amazing. They say it's really quite difficult to steer a plane, and an average amateur can't do it that well. Yeah, Bitcoin's price trend is a real world roller coaster. Absolutely. It goes up and down like crazy. And there are no apparent rules for why it would go up or down. And you know, it's pretty much a wild gamble. Anyway, that's enough for the news, I think.